Well, hello. Welcome to our fourth episode podcast. This is going to be I think we're just going to call it episode four. Our fourth episode. I don't want to confuse people. David, I mean, what do you think? Oh, and by the way, everybody, David is not here with me right now. David is actually in. So we are doing this podcast via telephone, so I hope it doesn't sound too bad. Say hello, David. How's the weather at wherever you are?
Hey everybody, yeah, it's about 46 degrees outside, but it's a really dry cold. So I'm used to like a very humid cold, so it feels a little different. Doesn't feel as cold.
Well, here in Texas, it looks like it's about to start pouring, but I don't know. But we'll see. Hopefully it doesn't mess up our broadcast today. So, all right, into Star Wars stuff. What did you find out this week?
Well, I just found out recently that a lot of the news circulating around Solo and stuff like Meryl Streep replacing Carrie Fisher in Episode 9, it's all been kind of bogus. It kind of stems back all the way to, I think, 3 weeks ago, where I was getting tagged on posts that said that the Solo marketing posters for different countries, they were in different countries, and they didn't show Solo with his blaster. And there was a caption that all the blasters were being removed. But just recently I found out that really wasn't the case. It seems like if you go back and kind of do some research, it seems like Alex Jones, the guy that does InfoWars, was the originator of all that. It seems like the marketing for other countries, that was on purpose. That was already decided before any of the recent school shootings happened. So Disney didn't budge and change their marketing to remove blasters and weaponry and change the positions of Solo and Chewie on the posters. Those were just actually foreign posters. So that was a big time rumor. Also, there's a big Meryl Streep replacing Leia, or acting in place of Leia rumor that's out there that's gaining a lot of traction. But yeah, that's just totally bogus as well. For one, I thought of maybe getting Jodie Foster to kind of complete the whole joke that Carrie Fisher used to tell about her needing to lose 5 pounds out of one cheek in her face and 5 pounds out of the other to lose the 10 pounds they requested. Otherwise, they just bring in Jodie Foster. So I think that would be a very hilarious kind of almost like subtext inside joke type of thing. And I mean, she's an accomplished actor. I mean, she could technically pull it off, possibly. But of course, everyone knows Meryl Streep is probably one of the greatest actors.
She's
alive.
Meryl Streep. You can't. But here's my thing though. Like with such an iconic character. I mean, with James Bond, you're able to replace him, and it's like, oh, cool. You know, Doctor Who, you're able to replace him, but you can't replace Carrie Fisher. You can't replace that character of Leia. It's iconic. She's just an incredible character, not only in the Star Wars lore, but in movies history. So when I heard that story that Meryl Streep, people wanted her to play that part, I was like, I hope it's not real. I hope somebody isn't trying to really really try this and people are dying to see this, because no, they better not do this. Almost like how they wanted to push out The Last Jedi from canon, how they wanted to erase it, like fans were petitioning. So I hope it doesn't go anywhere. I hope Kathleen Kennedy doesn't hear any of this and makes it a weird decision. Do you think she would do that, or no? Or it's all bogus, it's all fake?
Well, she already came out and said they're not doing it. They're not going to do a CGI Grand Moff Tarkin double or anything like that. I know Todd Fisher, when Carrie Fisher initially passed away, he was talking like, yeah, Lucasfilm is going to use old footage and put her in, and then Kathleen Kennedy came out and said, no, he's misinformed. We're not going to do that. So I'm pretty sure what Kathleen Kennedy says goes. So
I wonder why he would say that though, because I saw that same interview and I remember hearing that he and I think Billy Lord as well had kind of given them their blessing to say, hey, y'all could try this, y'all could do it. But then the next day, Kathleen Kennedy was like, no, it's not going to happen. I just wonder whether or not it was all a fake story we heard, or whether or not it was he had hoped they would do it. I don't know. That was just a weird story when I heard it the first time. But
Right, and I think Todd Fisher's a pretty stable guy. I wonder what the genesis of all that was. Be kind of interesting to track that one. But yeah, and Solo has a Denny's commercial that's out. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but
no.
it's kind of interesting. It's like a cantina style commercial with different aliens running around, and it shows two kids playing the roles of Han and Lando, playing. I'm thinking the infamous game of Sabacc when. Spoiler, I guess it's like the Titanic scene, but Han Solo wins the Falcon from Lando, apparently or supposedly, if they keep to, I guess, Legends canon. But yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. And Chewbacca's in the corner and he kind of roars a couple times. He has his double bandolier on.
Aw. Yeah,
And
yeah, I saw that in the trailer, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." It's like I don't know, it's just a cool little like history about him, wondering why he has two, and then in the newer ones he only has one. I think that's pretty cool. I'll have to check out this
yeah,
thing.
I'd like to see how he transitions from double to single, and how the Falcon transitions from the way it looks in Solo to what we see in Episode 4.
I'm dying to see how that happens because I remember when I first saw the Falcon in the Solo trailer, I was so excited. I was like, "Oh my god, it's the Falcon! This is so cool!" But then when I looked at it again, I was like, "Wait, is that the Falcon, or is this like the sister to the Falcon?" But everyone's saying it's the Falcon, and I guess it's got to get torn up to where he has to like weld it differently. I don't know. It just it looks so sleek in Solo, and then to see it now, it's like, wow, what happened to this thing to where it looks?
Yeah, it's like it went through like a Steve Jobs Apple design first, and then Han got a hold of it. Han and Chewie.
One of my friends was like, did they go through like an oil planet or something? Because everything, everything in
That's
the
Sonic the
inside.
Hedgehog 2 Oil Planet.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's like what happened? It's so filthy and dirty in there that it's like what? But I think I don't know. I'm anxious to see how they're gonna do that story with the ship and why the ship looks like that. But so we're getting
Yeah,
some promotional for Solo, which is great. And I hear Ron Howard announced a couple of days ago that a trailer is coming. An official Solo trailer will be coming out soon. I'm thinking they're gonna push it to around the Avengers movie, or they're
it
gonna
has
wait
to.
for May the 4th.
Yeah, it has to be before Avengers. That's perfect timing right there.
Oh, you don't think they'd wait for May the 4th?
To me, it doesn't feel like Lucasfilm really honors that date and respects it. They kind of sort of do, and they release like maybe something that we're not like heavily anticipating, like like coloring books or something like YA. It's like, gosh, man. Sometimes I take the day off because it's May 4th, just because, and I'm expecting some big announcement or some footage that we haven't seen, and it's like, nothing happened, and it's like, well, why don't I take this day off?
Well, I think they're gonna release the soundtracks, the original six. I mean, the original, yeah, I think six of them. The six movies. John Williams' music is gonna be like re-released, like remastered sound and all that. So I think they're gonna do that on May the 4th, if I'm not mistaken. If that's the case, then I'm gonna buy that because I love the music of Star Wars. And if they announce that on May the 4th, that's pretty cool. But I would rather they do the like Force Friday, like May the 4th. Like on May the 4th, release all the Solo toys. On May the 4th, release all the trailers and everything, and the new poster, the official poster. But you're thinking they're not even gonna do that, right?
They might do a poster. That sounds legit. I have seen more marketing though, kind of like that marketing that leaked from Russia or whatever, like
Mm,
months ago,
yeah.
where it shows Kira and Solo and Chewie and Lando, and then the Falcons like side profile view. But I was gonna say I sold all my college books this weekend in San Marcos at half price books. They gave me a whole $4 for them. It was something like 60 books, but anyways, I saw that they have record players there, and the only reason I have record players is to play those records that they released for the Force Awakens that have the hologram on them.
Oh
And I
yeah.
know there's another record that they released, because I know one has a TIE fighter and another one, I want to say, has a Death Star. Maybe when you flip it, you have a different hologram. But
Mm.
I'm thinking that that's two records that you can get, and that record player, it's a brand new, like, technology-wise record player. It has like USB and Bluetooth on it.
Ooh.
So I'm kind of thinking about maybe doing that someday when I actually have some money left over. But
After you buy all your other Star Wars stuff.
man, it's going to be hard. The Solo toys have actually gone out on sale. I've seen pictures of people buying them from Target. You can buy the Black Series Solo, Black Series Lando, I believe.
Where?
And
I can't
I
find any of
just haven't
them.
been to a store yet.
I haven't found any of them. I go to Target almost all the time. I've never seen a Solo toy yet. I go looking for them
Yeah,
too.
I guess they must have broke street date or something, because that happened too with Force Friday last time, where I was seeing friends buying these toys, and it's like, well, you can't really buy them yet, but still they have them, and I don't know. Got to see them ahead of time, I guess. But
Well, hopefully soon they release. Are they gonna do a Force Friday again with Solo? Because I know they did a Rogue Friday, right? They did like Rogue Friday, and they did Force Friday for Force Awakens, and then Force Friday for Last Jedi. Do you think they're gonna do like a?
that's a good question. I don't remember the Rogue Friday.
Well, it wasn't like a.
Maybe it's gonna be May the 4th for Solo.
Hey, is May the 4th a Friday? Because if it is, it
Uh,
is. It's a Friday. They might have a really good opportunity here to do something.
past situations have shown us that they don't take advantage. I mean, Star Wars basically has two holidays in May: May the 4th and May 25th. The release of a brand new film on May 25th, which is the day, the original Star Wars Day, and then the fan community came up with May the 4th.
hmm
So they have all the opportunity to capitalize on those 2 days.
You know, it'd be really cool for May the 4th, though, man, is if they release the whereabouts of where celebration's gonna be.
Oh, see, you're thinking the way I want them to think, but that hasn't been really in the cards.
So, for those of you who are Star Wars fans and who don't know what celebration is, you're crazy because
Shame on you.
yeah, shame on you because it's such a huge deal and it's the first time I'd heard about celebration. I'd seen t-shirts, but I was like kind of like what is this anyways? It wasn't until 2015 celebration in Anaheim that I just saw the scope of how big it was. And that was where they unveiled the first Force Awakens trailer with at the very end you hear Han Solo say Chewie, we're home. And I remember seeing the crowd reaction, and I got pumped. I was like, holy smokes, I need to be there at Star Wars Celebration because this looks amazing. It's just 4 days of nothing but Star Wars fans coming together to celebrate Star Wars. It's legit. That's all it is. And then the next year was in Europe, right? Wasn't it? Like it was Celebration Europe or something like that.
Yes, it was in London, England, at the XL Center.
Yeah, I didn't go to that one because
Or
obviously
maybe it wasn't London. It was a different city, but it was in the UK.
yeah, it was definitely in the UK, and I was a little bummed out. But then I remember just going online and looking, and they announced that it was going to be in Orlando, Florida for 2017, and I bought my tickets. I talked to my girlfriend, who's now my wife, by the way, which is pretty cool. I talked to her, and I was like, "Hey, I really want to go to this. Will you go with me?" And she was like, "Okay." I don't think she realized. I don't think she realized what she was getting herself into, and it was spectacular. But I will say this: I'm mad at you, David, because you were there at Anaheim, right? You did go to the Anaheim celebration.
Well, if you want me to tell the story, I will.
Do it. Make me jealous. Make everyone else jealous that you were there.
Well, I might not make you that jealous when I tell you the story. So,
Uh oh.
it was the October before. I didn't buy my badges day of when it went on sale, but I was thinking about going, and I didn't have the money at the time, and I kind of saved a little bit, and I ended up having just enough to buy the badge, and I was thinking, well, there's so much time before the date actually comes, I can just save, which I'm really not that great at doing. Save and save until the day comes, And I asked one of my good buddies if he wanted to go. He's a big Star Wars fan too, and he was like, "Well, let's do it." And he was like, "Is it cool if my brother goes too?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. And the more is better." So they all saved. I saved. We got the badges. Got them in. We bought them in October. They arrived, I think, in March, and we did all our planning. They set up the hotel. They set up the flight. So all I had to do was pay my share to them, to my buddy's brother, and he set it up to arrive the day of the trailer announcement, the trailer panel, the Force Awakens panel, basically. I said, okay, we're going to get here we're going to arrive in LA about 2 hours ahead of time. Then we'd have to take a shuttle from LAX to Anaheim, where we're going to stay, which is walking distance to the convention center. The shuttle takes forever. The shuttle ride takes forever. And I didn't even realize that you weren't going to get in unless you spent the night before to get into the arena that's at the Anaheim Convention Center.
Oh no!
But I was like, I'm going to sneak in, man. Whatever I have to do to get in there, because I just paid all this money, and I want to have the experience. I know it's going to be huge. We get to our hotel, we throw our things in our room, and we head off walking to the convention center. Halfway through to the convention center, my buddy goes, "Oh crap, I forgot my badge in the hotel room."
Oh no!
So that cost us more time. So me and my buddy's friend, we end up at the convenience store right there. We go inside. It's really hot. We're sweating already. So we're like speed walking to the place. We go inside. We buy some water, and we just wait for my buddy to go all the way back to the hotel and come all the way back to the convenience store, which took a lot of time. Then we made our trek back towards the arena, and I was on my phone the whole time. I have Sprint, and my buddy had Verizon, and we were streaming over LTE the panel. And right as we got literally right as we walked up to the arena, the trailer gets released. So I'm outside the arena where the trailer got released. But it's like, I don't care, I want to see this thing. So I'm looking at the trailer on my phone. Due to the fact that everyone was in that arena, there was not a lot of people outside, which worked to my advantage, because I didn't know where to go. I didn't know where the entrance was. I was pumped after seeing that trailer, and there was a big banner right outside what looked to me was the entrance. So, and I saw people coming in and out. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go in. There's no line. Everyone's over there at the arena. I might have gotten an advantage here. So I go through the door, and I see security rushing the doors. And I was like, oh, man, they're going to make me go back out. But they didn't. They bypassed me and pushed other people out. So I was already in the convention hall. And my buddies are still outside, and I called them on the phone. I said, hey, just walk up to a door. I'll let you in so we can just get in here. I don't know what's going on. So I let them in, and we had the app to go to the specific rooms where they had displays of Return of the Jedi and so forth. But I saw there was a Force Awakens room that was set up with Kylo Ren's costume. All the costumes basically the Force Awakens.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something like be one of the first ones to ever see basically everything that they brought from the Force Awakens in the convention hall. So I was like, cool. So we go to that room that it's going to be held, and there's a line of maybe 8 people in front of us. So we get there, and I look at the front of the line, and there's a guy with a cap on, and I recognize the cap as a black cap with a V and 2 eyes behind it. And I was like, whoa, that dude was on the production of The Force Awakens. He was at the front of the line, and they let us in, and I come to find out that we weren't supposed to be there. That was just for the VIPs, and everyone that was trying to get in was in the really big, giant area, like basically like cattle being held before, so that the VIPs would get in, and then they would let the standard badge holders, in which we were. But we got in with the VIPs, and I was taking so many pictures and stuff because they had the Falcon there that they used with the square radar dish, and they had the blue X-wing that Poe flew in the beginning, and they had Kylo Ren's costume, the actual costume there, and I was just like beside myself. And they had the flame troopers there. They had Rey's costume or Jakku costume, and I mean, I was just like, wow, I can't believe this is here.
That's
So
awesome.
I took all those pictures, right? I took all those pictures, and then from then on, they let all the people in, and it got flooded quickly. But we got on the floor, and the first thought I had was go to the celebration store, get in line, buy all the merch you can because it might be all bought up, it might get sold out. Get in line. I told the guys, hey, I'll make a sacrifice. I'll jump in line. Y'all go do whatever you want to do, but I want to make sure that I'm going to get my stuff. So I get in line, and me being the huge Star Wars nerd that I am, and just having common sense, which it seemed like a lot of people did not, which was kind of weird. I'm standing in line, and I see kind of like a little like entourage approaching, and I could tell. I mean, something was off because you could see people that weren't like Star Wars people, around a couple of people with masks on, and I was like, oh man. I mean, I was counting my lucky stars. I was like, man, that's John Boyega and Daisy Ridley walking right up to me. So I had my phone out and I started snapping pictures, snapping pictures. And John Boyega didn't look at me, but Daisy Ridley, she did one of those things where she walked by me, she kind of stopped, and she looked at me and she gave me a big up, and then she kept on walking. And I took a picture of that. I have it. I don't think I've shown you.
No, you've never shown me, man.
Yeah, so they do that, and then they go behind like a big curtain behind like where the registers are for the celebration store, and that celebration store line took like friggin' 5 hours, man. It was horrendous. They had 20 cash registers going, and still somehow it took forever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ran by Repop. I mean, I don't know what the deal is, but same thing with Celebration 2017. I mean, it was just horrible again. And I mean, you figured you'd be able to go online, buy your stuff there, and then just go pick it up,
Nah.
But they're really not with the times. But they do a lot of con stuff, and I'm guessing it's better than what they do with Celebration. But anyways, and I was collecting pins too, and I had a pin that I bought from the Disney store, and there was an usher there with a lanyard full of all the new line of pins that came out, and I asked him if he wanted to trade, so I traded him one from the Disney store for one of those new.
Oh my gosh.
It was the new Admiral. He did it, and I took it, and then I tried to do the same thing, and one of the employees was like, "I can't do that, sir. I'd have to trade a light pen from the same line if you want to do the trade." And I was like, "Oh, okay. I guess I lucked out on that one." So I got the Admiral Akbar, which is the one I really wanted.
That's awesome.
So yeah, and that pin that I traded was very, very common too. So that was easily replaceable, even though I haven't done it yet. But so that all went down, and once that 5 hours was up, we attended the Battlefront panel, which was pretty awesome. We got shirts. There's a shirt on every chair.
Nice.
Presentation was on. All the guys from EA were there. After that, it's all kind of a blur now, but we did attend the Mark Hamill panel. We sat up kind of high, and I split off from my buddies. They did, I think, the Billy D. Williams panel, and I skipped that because I'd seen an interview with Billy D. He didn't look like he was really into it, and he's a little older too, so I was suspecting the same thing was going to happen. Even though in 2017 he seemed really into it, but of course that was the mega all-time panel where everyone was there.
Yep.
And I did attend the Carrie Fisher panel by myself.
Oh
I sat up
wow.
at the top, and she pulled someone out of the crowd that he wanted to ask. He asked a question, He said he was a really big fan. He said he was her first crush, and he pulled him up. She pulled him up on the stage and gave him like a big old French kiss.
Oh my god.
And yeah, it was nuts. The dude was like long, curly, like unwashed hair, like cut off T-shirt, and she like French kissed the dude.
She was awesome,
And
dude. She was awesome.
yeah, I knew her panel was going to be great, so I made sure I attended that. Just being in the line, I remember it's an incredible thing to be in line and to listen to people's conversations. It's just all Star Wars, and then you meet people in line that want to talk to you about Star Wars, and you find out where they're from. I found out there was people from Houston, there was people from Seattle, there was just people from everywhere. But the one common thing that we have is Star Wars, and we all can speak it, we can talk it, that's our language. And it was kind of like, is this real? Is this? And it's a strange feeling that, okay, they know what I know, so I can just speak my mind here. And it kind of took me some time to break out of like not speaking about certain things. But in the 2017 line for, I believe it was the 40th anniversary panel, I met a couple guys, and one guy was a comedian, and he busted out with a Theo Bibble joke. And I hadn't heard that, just like Obi-Wan Kenobi, I hadn't heard that name in a long time, since the late 90s. But yeah, man, I mean, if you can make it out to Celebration, and of course you're listening to this podcast or watching it, do it. It's to me, it's worth it. I mean, you meet people. That's the big thing. It's the other fans. Yeah, the panels are great, and the merch is great, and it's cool to go to California, Orlando. But it's really the people that make it worth it, because you make new friends. You have interesting conversations you really can't have anywhere else unless you have really close Star Wars fan friends. But yeah, it's an awesome experience. I've gone to 2015 and 2017. I've done all 4 days, and I haven't regretted it. I mean, it's just the best. It's just all Star Wars all the time, releasing new trailers, new video games. And oh my gosh, I attended Dennis Mirren's panel.
Oh man.
And it felt like it was like a presentation at work. He talked about how X-Wings fly through space, how they fly more like an airplane through atmosphere rather than a spaceship in outer space, because he talked about how the ships bank in space, how they just move like those World War II dogfight clips that George Lucas had, and they copied them exactly, not knowing that in space there's no wind resistance.
Yeah.
So that's why they move the way they do, and a lot of people really don't pick up on that. And I think that's just one of those lucky kind of mistakes in a way. But yeah, I love the dogfights. I'm all for a Rogue Squadron Star Wars story.
I think they'll do it.
But
They'll do it eventually.
yeah. So yeah, Dennis Mirren did the panel. At the end, he said, "Do you have questions?" I went up to him to ask him a question, and then an usher came and said, "Oh, we got to move on, guys. It's all over. So this room's going to be used for something else." And Dennis Mirren was like, "Okay, I guess I got to go, guys." But he was about to answer everyone's questions. No, I did speak with him.
Oh, you
but
did?
I didn't get to ask him like really in-depth questions, you know? Because at the end, he did have a Q&A, but the lines formed quickly for the mic. And he did those questions, and then once the panel was over, then more people rushed the stage to talk to him. But then an usher came in and canceled it.
Bunch of jerks.
And yeah, there was we ate con food. The food that was there at the con was over expensive.
Oh,
Pro
yeah.
tip is, take your own snacks and stuff. Save a whole lot of money. But we did decide to go eat at a bar and grill. And what was cool about the bar and grill was they had menus that were Star Wars themed.
Nice.
So I ate a Rancor steak. I remember that. It was a huge steak. And yeah, I did. I tore that thing up. It was awesome. Um, and all the restaurants were walk distance to the convention center, so that was a plus too. I mean, they had everything from chain restaurants like McDonald's to just like buffet style restaurants, and I think we ate at pretty much all of them. It was a great time, and we stayed for the closing ceremony. And I'm not sure if they did announce England, but it was a whole lot easier to get to stuff, I think, in 2015 to go to the app, say, I'm going here, I'm going there. But in 2017, I think the celebration population just kind of exploded exponentially
It was,
because
yeah.
I wanted to attend certain things, and the line was like going. I mean, it was like big things in like any of the halls. It was like in rooms, and there was lines going around that area, like around columns, and people were like basically camping out. And I went up to several of these lines, and I was just told the cutoff's here, man. You're not going to get in if you get in line. You can try it, but you're probably not going to get in. So there's so many stuff. There's so many panels just happening simultaneously that it's super hard to do everything you want to do,
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of gets you in a frenzy. But I mean, planning is very very important. Finding out where you're going to be, what you're going to do, who you're going to meet up with.
Well, I
Oh, yeah,
know,
it's
I know.
fun.
When I did 2017, I knew I wanted to go to the 40th anniversary uh, panel, and I really wanted to go to the Last Jedi, but I wasn't anticipating how exhausted I was gonna be after waiting in line for like 15 hours for the 40th celebration panel. Like when it was done, my girlfriend and I were like, "Okay, what do we do? Should we stay and look around?" Like, no, let's go to sleep. So we went to bed like at 4 p.m. and didn't wake up until the next day at like 7 a.m. And by the time we'd woken up, the panel for Last Jedi had already like sold out. So we missed the Last Jedi panel. But instead, we did get in line and get our shirts, though. I was able to get my Last Jedi shirt. It's a celebration on there. I was pretty psyched about that. But I will say this, though, for people who are thinking about going to Celebration, be prepared to wait. Like, that's really, they call it, what was it, you got to queue. We got to queue this line. I'm going to go queue that line. Yeah, you get into a queue and you wait there for like hours upon hours just to go and see something, and people are just sitting around, laying around in line, and I wasn't anticipating that many people in one area. I know last week David said, aircraft hangar. It really is that big. There was like 3,000 or 4,000 people waiting in line. Yeah, you were there in the celebration line, right? Like there was a ton of people there. There was. Do you remember when every time somebody would knock down one of the barriers there at Celebration,
Yeah, people would clap
people would
and
start.
cheer.
It was funny the first hour, like because what it was, it was for those who weren't there. It was they had these barriers, these metal barriers up, blocking and separating the lines, and they weren't really held on well. So if anybody knocked into one of these barriers, it would collapse, and it was made of metal, and it make this loud noise, and people would clap, and it was really funny. But then, like hour 8 into it, it was like, all right, y'all need to stop clapping, man. This is not even funny anymore. And I remember the guys in front of us were from Sweden. The guy behind us was from I think he was from Boston. He was one of the funniest guys I'd ever talked to in my life. He was just cracking me up, and people were just sleeping on the floor. I tried to sleep. I kept snoring, and my wife kept waking me up because I was people were looking at me because I was snoring way too loud. But I just remember still being excited that I was there in line because I knew it was going to be something special for the 40th anniversary. And we finally got our. Do you remember what happened? Everybody gets their wristbands, and everybody's so excited, and everybody goes around, and they think they're going to lead us into the room already, but they just let us right back into the same line, and then we had to stay there for another like 4 hours. Do you remember that?
Right.
I was.
Yes, yes. It was chaos. It was chaos. The people that were at the beginning of the line actually ended up towards the middle. It seemed like, because they thought they were given bad information. They went to the side, and we all just got back in line.
Yeah.
And you saw people screaming, no, 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 and everyone's trying to stop us. But I had my group, and they were going a certain way. I was just going to follow them. So I followed them, and it ended up being we actually moved up a couple lines, I think.
Yeah, I moved up. So, we moved up a couple of the spots as well, and then we waited there, and I was about to give up. I was like, I'm done. I am exhausted. I am tired. I just want to, and then they finally let us, into the celebration room. But here was the funny thing. So we're all like running to the celebration room because everybody's excited. Like, here we go. And then they're over there going, whoa, whoa, everybody stop. Form a line, whoa. And everybody goes, whoa. Like, everybody's like making this noise. And then in the back, I just hear these guys going, oh, oh. Ooh, like the Ewoks did in Return of the Jedi, and everybody started chanting, "Ooh!" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing!" and and it was awesome. And then like when we were in line outside, we're all going in, and these guys behind us, they had to be from Germany because they were speaking German. They were from Germany, and they were back there, talking, and I was like, that's pretty cool. They came all the way from Germany to Orlando, and one of the guys behind me, as the line starts to move, he says, "The first transport is away," and then I stuck my fist up, and he goes, "All right." He's like, "Yeah, you did it." I was like, "Of course, man." It was pretty funny, and that's what it is. It's just a bunch of people, you get to go out for 4, because I was there all 4 days. You just get to be for 4 days, be a kid again. You just get to, that's the best way to describe it. Like, I went to all these vendors there on the show floor like 100 times just to look at the toys. Even though like I'd seen them all, it was still just fascinating to look at all these toys that were hanging up on the wall there. And I spent quite a bit of money while I was there. But it was worth it for me because it was just amazing to be in that atmosphere, and everybody was just so pumped, and people were walking around in costumes. Like, I got so many cool pictures of people in costumes. There was this girl who I know my wife kind of looked at me like, why are you looking at her? Because she had a crop top on. She had a white crop top on and white pants, and she had 3 red scratch marks on her stomach. And I was like, oh my god, it's Padme from Attack of the Clones when she gets scratched in the arena. And I was like, can I please get a picture? And she was looking at me like, okay. I was like, this is the funniest costume I've seen, man. Like, it's such an obscure costume. And
right.
But one thing I will say was the highlight of Celebration for me was they did this beautiful tribute to Carrie Fisher. Billy Lord, she got up there and spoke. Oh, fun fact, if you actually go and listen in that video and Billy Lord is speaking, she says a part where she says, she's talking about her mother, and she says, this character she created, this force, Leia, and it's quiet, except for one little woohoo. That was me. I swear to God, it was me who just went woohoo. And my wife will say yes because I did it, and she just looked at me like, "Oh my God, no one else did anything." But then everybody started to cheer. So if you ever like find that panel and listen, you're gonna hear a little voice say woohoo. That was me. But anyways, they did that beautiful tribute to Carrie Fisher, and after the tribute was done, the curtain on the side of the stage opened up. Do you remember that? The curtain opens up, and everybody started screaming and yelling. And my wife, for a second, mind you, she's exhausted because we've been waiting in line for 15 hours. For a second, she thought, is that Carrie Fisher? She's like, did Carrie Fisher fake her own death? And then she just comes out like, what's up? But then I'm like, no, it can't be her. Like, and she was like,
dude, I'll tell you what, I thought the exact same thing because it was because I was like really high up in line, so I got priority seating, I got to sit towards the front,
Mm-hmm.
but they put the media members in the very very front. So you were like the 50th row back if you even got to the front of the line, which we did manage to do that. But I could hear like women crying. It sounded like they were like in freaking shock, and I'm like, what's gonna shock this audience? I'm like, Carrie Fisher comes out of the grave? Like, oh.
She was like, it was all a joke. It was all a joke. But then I realized why everybody started screaming, and then I
Right.
started screaming, and up there on the stage, sitting there, was John Williams, the man who wrote the music for all the movies, and I started to cry. I mean, I uncontrollably started to cry because I was like, oh my gosh, that's him. Like Star Wars, Jurassic Park, Jaws, E.T., Close Encounters, and then he played Leia's theme, and everybody's just bawling. You know, everybody's crying, and then the song is done, and then in my head, I'm thinking, I just want to hear it one time before I die. Just let me hear it live. Then he quieted down everybody, and then he just goes bah, 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 and then the fanfare started. Oh, I was like, this is the best day of my life. This is one of the.
Yeah.
I told my wife. I said, I'm always gonna remember the day. If we have kids, I'm gonna remember the day our kids are born, the day we got married, and the day I heard John Williams play the Star Wars fanfare. I was like, I'm never gonna forget that day ever in my life. And it was something. It was absolutely, it was moving to hear and to see him up there. And it was really cool. I read that Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill were there, and they actually started to leave. They were after the panel was over. They were gonna leave, and somebody said, "Don't you want to hear the music?" And they said, "No, we're okay, But then somebody said it's John Williams, and they both turned around and said, "What? He's here!" And they both rushed over just so they could also hear the music as well. Like it was such a secret that he was there, and man, that was the highlight of Celebration for me was that moment to see John Williams there, and so again, us fans are just patiently waiting for the next celebration. But in the back of my mind, I'm wondering, how are they going to top that? Like, how are they going to top that moment for me?
Before I forget, going back to what you said, you go back and you watch the Billy Lord and you hear the woohoo that you did.
Yeah.
I kind of did something similar, but I thought ahead. I was like, what can make me stand out in the crowd? So I bought Luke's green lightsaber from Return of the Jedi, and I figured that was going to be prominent in The Last Jedi, which it wasn't, but I still took it. So I was sitting right in the middle. So when you see the green lightsaber that's up and like blocking the camera, basically, that's me.
Are
That's
you
my
serious?
lightsaber. Yes, that is me.
I'm gonna go back and watch that now because that is amazing. I wanted a lightsaber so bad, but I couldn't. I didn't want to take one because I didn't know how the flight there was gonna be. But then as soon as I get to the airport in Austin, this guy is just walking around with a lightsaber sticking out the back of his backpack, and I was like, "Hey, you going to Florida?" He's like, "Yep." I was like, "Me too." And I was like, "Damn it, I could have done something." But I had like my Star Wars shirt and my Star Wars hat on, and I was like, that was kind of a stupid thing to ask me, like, "Hey, you go to Florida?" And the funny thing was, we even before we left to go to Celebration, we get onto the plane, and the pilot says, "I hear a lot of people are heading up to Star Wars Celebration, so welcome aboard, everybody." And he cranked up the Star Wars theme there in the plane before we took off.
Whoa.
I was like, "This is gonna be." I'm looking at my wife like, "This is gonna be awesome!" Like, I'm so excited. And
Yeah, if he would have said angle the deflector shield, punch it, Chewie, I would have freaked.
I would have been like, "Yeah!" Screaming the whole way, "Yes!" Man, you know what? Now I'm disappointed that he didn't do that, man. Thank you for ruining that moment. Now it won't be as awesome because he did not say that.
Anytime I'm driving in a vehicle and I'm about to, and I know I'm about to go fast, I always point. I'll do the hand solo point, look at the passenger, and I'll tell him angle the deflector shield, and then I'll just Pound the gas, punch it, Chewie.
I used to do the pod racing engines whenever my mother would drive me somewhere and she would turn.
Yeah.
I'd always go, and she would just laugh at me. And she was like, "You're silly." I was like, "Mom, we're pod racing. Go faster!" Like why are you slowing down? And but oh, here's a fun thing. A funny thing about Celebration. So we get to Orlando, we land, we drive to our hotel, and we walk it up to to the hotel, and this couple stops us, and they go, "Excuse us, you guys look like you're going to Star Wars Celebration." And I'm looking at myself going, "How did you guess?" And he says, "Can you help us figure out where?" And I looked, and I had all my stuff there, and I was like, "Yeah, so you got to go here, go." So I knew kind of where things were, and I asked, "So where are you from?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm just from Georgia." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that wasn't too bad." He goes, "Yeah." And he said, "Where did y'all fly from?" And I said, "We flew in from Austin." And the girl he was with was like, "Oh, I'm from Austin." And we're like, "What? That's crazy! Like, what are the odds of the first people we talked to in Florida, like the girls from Austin?" She goes, "Yeah, I went to Texas State University in San Marcos." And my wife and I were like, "Oh my god!" Like we never left Texas. Like people, the first people we talked to were Texans, and I was like, "Oh, jeez." I just thought that was
Well, a similar situation happened to this middle-aged couple in line. They had kids, and I was behind them, and right behind me turned out to be the principal of the kids' school. And they had no idea that they were going to be there.
That's
that
awesome.
was kind of shocking. Yeah.
Where were they from? Were they like from Florida, or were they from like?
I'll give you 3 guesses, and you will hit it. It's a town we talked about recently. They're from Spring, dude.
Are you serious? They were
I
from
am
Spring,
serious.
Texas. That's awesome. What
I'm like, no way.
Like, this is not happening right now. What was really funny was one day we went. The people in front of us were from the UK. They were from London, and I overheard them talking, and they were like, "Yeah, we came out here just for this." I was like, "Holy smokes!" They came all the way from London just for Star Wars. And then people around us, somebody else said they were from Australia, and they came to Orlando, Florida, just for Celebration. So I'm
That's
thinking,
commitment.
Maybe I'm not that big of a Star Wars fan. Like maybe Texas and Florida aren't that far away. So, but still, it's an amazing. I know today's podcast we went everywhere, but it's just that's how fun it was. That's how fun Celebration was, and I saw so many cool costumes, like you wouldn't believe. Somebody built their own BB-8, and I came out. It was just by accident. I walked out into this hall, and there was this guy there, and he just had a BB-8, and he was just rolling it around, and I was like, "Dude, can I get a picture with him?" He goes, "Yeah, man," and I have this big goofy grin on my face. My wife took the picture, and I'm just like, "All right," just so psyched. And then the cutest thing I ever saw there was somebody had a fully functional working chopper from Rebels, and he looked awesome.
Yeah.
He looked just amazing. And this little kid was taking a picture with him, and I was waiting because I was like, I'm gonna take a picture of the chopper, because chopper's pretty cool. And they take the picture, and his mom and dad were like, "Okay, let's go." And the little boy's like, "Okay, bye bye, chopper," and walked away. And I was like, "Oh," I'm like, "Oh, that was so cute." And I tried not to say that to him when I walked away. I was just like, "Cool, man. Thank you." Don't act like a big old nerd. Be like, "Oh my god, thanks." I was like, "Thanks, man. Thank you very much." But man, it was awesome. It was a time. My wife always says it's a once in a lifetime thing, and I'm thinking, maybe. No, it's
The
gonna.
40th panel was a once in a lifetime thing. Celebration is more like a once in a 2-year thing.
Yes, I like that answer quite a bit, and I hope they announce soon because I want to go. I went all 4 days. I went each of the 4 days, and it was just so much fun just walking around and just looking at all the. There was a guy there just as Batman, and I was like, "All right, that's cool." Like, I don't know what you're doing here, man, but you look pretty cool. And but it was amazing. It was I wanted to get a tattoo there, but my wife was like, "No," because they had like those tattoo parlors there, and I was like, "That'd be a pretty cool
Yeah, I was
story."
really thinking about it.
Hey, I just got a tattoo. Wear it. That's Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah, I think if I ever get a tattoo, I might just do it there, just to say that I got it at Celebration.
Yep.
A Star Wars tattoo at Star Wars Celebration. That's about as hardcore as you can get. Star Wars Celebration is the pinnacle of Star Wars fandom.
So if you out there, if y'all listen to this podcast and if you like this podcast, keep your ears open for Star Wars Celebration, because it's something. It's, even though we went everywhere tonight and tried to, we didn't do it justice. I can assure you we didn't do it justice. It was amazing, and when it was over, I was anxious to get home, but I was sad at the same time. Like, oh man, like this was. It was just a high we were all on. Like, it was like, oh my gosh, there's just nerds everywhere. We're just so excited to be there. And like I said, just waiting for the day when Lucasfilm announces when they're gonna do another one.
Yeah, and I believe this last Sunday, which was Easter, April Fool's Day, was the 1 year anniversary, right? Because we were there Easter Sunday.
Well, no, it was Easter last year was around like the 14th or 15th of April. It was in the middle of April. I remember that much.
Right.
So yeah, it's almost a year. Almost a year's gone by, and it makes me sad that we don't know anything about next year. But it makes me happy knowing that I was there, and I got the shirt to prove it. I got the pictures to prove it, and it was it was pretty cool. Well, this was a fun podcast. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we need to do a part 2 of Celebration, because I still have more stuff to talk about. Meeting the founder of the 501st in person, and meeting just about every single Facebook Star Wars friend that I've made in person, and
lucky.
taking pictures. So yeah, do a part 2.
We will, and we'll do it when he's here, not when he's in an undisclosed location halfway across the galaxy, running a secret mission right now, because that's what you're doing, right? You're doing like a secret mission up there?
Something like that.
I can't tell.
Will not confirm or deny that I'm with Boston.
Oh, watch out. But again, how David and I met, though. David and I were at Star Wars Celebration together, but we didn't know we were there together. Like, we didn't know each other at the time. We only found out months later, in New Braunfels, we found out they were both in the same place at the same time, and that was pretty cool. We were able to bond over that instantly, going, "Oh my God, you were there!" Like, do you remember that long line and everything? And so that's how he and I became friends. So yeah, Star Wars fans are kind of the best. You don't know who you don't know what kind of fan you're gonna meet. You don't know whether or not they're gonna be like the coolest people you ever know. So hey, it's awesome.
And that's what makes Star Wars fandom the best fandom out there. Yeah.
Agreed. Except for when they get mad about a movie. But
yeah, sorry if I cut you off during the phone call, because it seems like you're maybe breaking in and out, so I'm not sure if I'm cutting you off or not.
It's all good. It'll be all good. This is our first. This won't be a continuing thing, audience. We won't be doing podcasts over the phone. This is just the first time, and this is like it just came up where he was like, "I'm gonna be gone," and I was like, "Oh man, okay." But we made it work, and we thank you for listening. And next week we'll have more Star Wars stuff to talk about, and it's got to be awesome. So, again, thank y'all for listening, and may the Force be with you.
Always.